Hi. Yes, we have to talk about the war. No, not the war of the late 1970s, Beta versus VHF, Sony versus JVC, where Sony famously lost the war, JVC and VHS won. No, we're going to talk about the Second World War of 2006. Blu-ray versus HD DVD. And this time around the Second World War, there are a lot more players involved. Unlike the video cassette format war of the late 1970s, which was a pretty simple fight, it was basically Sony versus JVC, and Sony lost because their, while technically more superior Betamax format, it was just bigger, more expensive, and could only hold 1 hour of material versus 2 hours. So that was pretty much a no-brainer decision for the consumer and the rental market. So if you could fit a whole movie on a tape and the machines were cheaper, why wouldn't you go with VHS? And war lasted, 5, 6, maybe 7 years. But VHS eventually won out because it was just good enough and did the job, and it was cheaper. Pretty simple fight in the end. But in 2005 and 2006, World War II started, the high-definition optical format war. Basically, Toshiba versus Sony were the figureheads of pushing the technology, but they had an impressive array of companies on their side, including basically 3 of the big movie production companies on both sides. So it was a pretty even fight. And one wasn't necessarily really cheaper than the other. They both were similar quality, both were held a similar amount of material, things like that. So there wasn't a huge amount of difference. So it was a much more complicated fight, many more players, lot higher stakes. And as you know, Blu-ray won the fight because you can get Blu-ray now and you can't get HD DVD. And this war was much quicker than the video cassette war of the late 70s. This one only took 2 years from when the first machines came out to when Toshiba finally threw in the towel and said, "Hey, thanks for all the fish, but we're out of here." And what it came down to in the end is not so much any technical details, although Blu-ray had some digital rights management stuff, which a lot, some of the players and studios really liked. It came down to, in 2007, Blockbuster decided, the huge movie chain who famously turned down the opportunity to buy Netflix, and they went out of business. So Blockbuster, the biggest video rental chain in the world, or the US, decided that they're going to side with Blu-ray, and that was pretty much one of the final nails in the coffin. But then a lot of the studios said, we're going to support both, or we're moving over to Blu-ray, and there was a shift of alliances and things like that towards Blu-ray. And well, once that avalanche happened, it didn't take long at all. And in 2008, Toshiba, they knew they were losing the fight, so they, last straw, they went, right, we're going to slash the price in half of our players. And well, everyone just went, let's go to Blockbuster and rent a Blu-ray. Oops. So in the end, it was a fairly simple matter of content. You could go out and rent Blu-ray content. You couldn't really rent much HD DVD, and it avalanched and Blu-ray won. So anyway, Sony avenged their defeat in the late 70s and won the digital optical format war. But hey, let's take a look at what happened to HD DVD by taking a look at the world's first HD DVD player, the Toshiba HD-XA1. It's vintage teardown time. Oh, let's go. And here it is, the original HD DVD player from Toshiba, the HD-XA1. And this is one, I believe, like one of the first batch, because it was manufactured in February 2006, a month before they actually made the official release of this thing. There's not much to it, really. There's an open close. It's obviously designed to be mostly operated with the remote control, but you can actually, put a disc in and just press play. I don't know what the extension stuff is. We'll have to read the manual, but one of the first things you notice is that it is heavy. It's about 9 kilos. It really is a solid bit of kit. There's a serial number for those playing along at home. And what else have we got on here? We've got our obligatory 5 and 1 channel audio out, of course, with your 2 channel option if you don't like that surround sound rubbish. And of course the optical and coaxial digital outputs, HDMI output, fancy pantsy for the time. And for legacy in quote marks gear, you had the component video output. And for legacy, of course, you had composite or S-video. Thank you very much. And a LAN connection. Oh my goodness, could it connect to the interwebs? Unfortunately, I've tried it and it doesn't work. Wah, 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 wah. What I love is the old school control RS-232. So presumably like it can be used in like studios and other systems where they might automate stuff and things like that perhaps. Definitely have to read the manual on what that one can do. So I expect that inside of this is not going to be built down for a price. This is the world's first HD DVD player. They would have over-engineered this to the hilt. Probably gave very little consideration to production, BOM cost and stuff like that. They just wanted to showcase the technology. They needed a rock-solid player. That's why it probably weighs so much. Put lead plates in the thing just to weigh it down to make it feel, oh yeah, this is real tech. By the way, thank you very much to Mark Stewart from Frankston in Victoria for sending this one in. So let's take a peek inside. The years of not being kind, it's a little bit rusted, but ta-da! We're in like Flynn. Beauty. Look at that. Whoa. So check it out, we've got Flatflex running everywhere, main processor board clearly on the top, just doing all the digital stuff, and we've got an analog board down the bottom here for all the interface and stuff like that. Beautiful looking heatsink, copper pipe heatsink, look at that. Whoa, look at all the fins. Whoa, isn't it a pretty little squirrel cage fan that blows that out? So we've got a dual state, whoop. It's a bit how you doing? I'll give you one guess what's under there. It is socketed. Give you a clue. It's on the front panel. Look at that. They were quite proud of it. Sounded exciting back then. Shark processor from Analog Devices. Thank you very much. But wait, hold on to your hats. If we pan up here, I've got some Intel stuff. I've got some Xilinx FPGA action. But check it out. We've got no less than 4 Shark processors. Where? ADSP 21262 for those playing along at home. But hang on, that's just one of them. Let's see if they're all the same. 21262, but 21266 and 21266. Pairs. Now, based on their physical location and that we've got 4 of them, if you have a look here, you can probably see some of the traces heading off from that particular Shark processor over to that ribbon cable, which of course heads down and goes down to the sound output. So that's probably dedicated sound processor right there. And likewise, these ones are probably hopping over here, dedicated to each individual task by the looks of it, over to the front. So, they're just offloading processor tasks to these individual DSP processors. Now, for mass consumer adoption products, a BOM cost and part consolidation, everything else matters. But on, leading edge stuff like this, the first one ever, one that's designed for the early adopters, price really doesn't matter a huge amount, then and you want to get to market, well, you can separate the design task. You can have like a design team just working on that, the software for that, for processing the audio, another one for processing the video, so on. So from a design team point of view, you could split that up. Perhaps, maybe that's one of the reasons behind it. Maybe the main processor, which we haven't seen yet down here, couldn't do it all. Yeah, they've clearly used 4 separate processors, DSP processors at least. Wow. What's under there? Well, that wasn't too hard to find out. It's a Broadcom BCM7411, and this is a HD video decoder. So actually, look at the datasheet. It's actually designed for HD DVD players and Blu-ray players to decode the MPEG streams. Now, as it turns out, an analysis by a company called iSupply at the time of the release actually did the BOM costing on this unit, and they said that it came out to $200 more than what they were selling selling it for. So they're making a $200 loss on each unit just to try and get into the market. They said there were $247 just worth of chips on here. Just chips, not any of the other hardware. And $125 was just spent on memory, including this DIMM module here, this Hynix, there we go. For those playing along at home who love their DIMM modules, they weren't cheap at the time, plus all the other memory on here, all the Spansion brand flash memory and all the other DRAMs and stuff for the various processors. Check this out. I originally thought that this little module here might have had something to do with the serial comms. Maybe it was some dedicated serial comms processor just by the proximity of it here. But it's from M Systems, who were one of the pioneers of flash-based, solid-state memory and stuff like that. And flip it over, and ta-da! What do we have? M Systems, flash disk pioneers. They got a little, is that a little, no, it's not a kangaroo, it's a rabbit. Anyway, yeah, this is basically the equivalent to a modern solid state drive. That's what they got here. Obviously some, slow-ass serial interface based on the pins there, but there you go. There you go for you Spartan aficionados, XC3S1000, which is all the rage at the time. And they've got a couple of Spartans around here. And, well, that one, it's not a Spartan. What's that? Anyway, they're just used as glue logic for most of the other stuff, I would suspect. So we're getting closer and closer to our mystery processor. Let's have a look what's under this puppy. Gotcha, Intel. And we're surrounded by more Intel, so you can guess what the main processor is going to be. Come on, answers on the back of a postcard, please. And we're in like Flynn, and that looks for all the world like an old school Pentium. Geez, no wonder they had to get the heat out. So that really is an expensive and hard-hitting solution for basically what is just a, a DVD player. Yeah, it's in HD, but that's basically all it is. Read it off the disc, decode it, and output it to the HDMI or analog outputs. It's like single chip solution these days. But hey, back then, okay, they didn't have the single chip solutions, but geez, I don't know, all that, like Pentium's pretty darn heavy hitting. I really like the design of this. It just flipped out with these clips there, really nice. There's the motor for the flap. What opens up when the drive comes out, but looky what we have here. It looks like a standard PC drive. Wow, that's all they've done. It's basically a PC with a standard 5¼ inch HD DVD player in it. So it's like they developed this and then just went, well, we'll just whack a PC on it. That's it. There's our product. And I really like the design even more because they're split it into this top and bottom half, and this just like slides and then lifts off to bring your cables out, and that is fantastic systems design. I like that. And if you're wondering what parts are on the front panel, the PCBs are labelled Toshiba, but that chip in there, not sure if you can see it, but that's a JRC, a Japan Radio Corp. And the power supply is quite nice and neatly laid out, and Nippon Chemicon caps, spared no expense. And pretty standard fare for all your analog inputs and digital outputs and stuff like that. We've got a Pioneer main chipset down in the bottom there. Analog devices driver down there for your component video, and a HDMI driver chip. Which one's that? Oh, is that a silicon image? Haven't seen one of those in a while. So there you have it. That looks like it was the world's first HD DVD PC drive, and January 2006. So they've just used the standard. Obviously they had plans to, well, let's just make that, whack it in PC drive, and then we'll just use that in our main products. I'm not sure if further HD DVD players did the same thing, but yeah, it's just a PC drive with a Pentium processor running what, Windows CE or something maybe? So let's have a look inside this first, and well, was it the only generation? I don't know, probably close, HD DVD drive, because it only lasted 2 years before they abandoned the format, so I'm not sure if they were able to do a revised version of this. Anyway, this is hardware version 2.0 and firmware version 2.0. But as I said, this is a January 2006 model. So this is before they made the announcement of the world's first HD DVD player. So obviously this is the first production run. They never released the other one. Take a few screws off and ta-da! We're in like Flynn. Check it out. We've got ourselves some thermal pads on there, which are depressed specifically in the metal to go down onto the chips there to get the heat out. But that's a lot of business for a DVD drive. I'd like to compare it to a modern one, and it's an NEC jobby, not Toshiba. So as it turns out, these three parts here are custom NEC jobs. They like big gate arrays. We've seen those before in various old products. So they're not fully custom silicon, I don't think. They're probably just, massive gate arrays that they program to do all the housekeeping and stuff like that. And the H8 fanboys go wild. There it is. There's a main processor in it. And obviously, if you just take a look at the two gate arrays here, this one is right next to the IDE port over here. So obviously that one's doing the IDE interface and comms interface, all that sort of jazz. And this one over here, most likely doing a lot of the processing coming out from the laser, coming out from the head and laser diode and everything else. So that's, and this and the processor up here, that H8 processor is just probably doing housekeeping stuff, things like that. But, all your grunt work flowing from here, into here, into here. What this one's doing around there, something to do with the read as well. That might be a some sort of, a data formatter or something like that, perhaps. I don't know. Just guessing. Here's an interesting part I've never seen before. Check it out. Like, what is it? S exclamation mark? PWM, obviously pulse width modulation, and judging by the pretty thickish traces coming out of here, this is obviously stepper motor drive and things like that. And we got ourselves a thermal pad on the top there, and it folds out very nicely to the backside there. I don't mind that at all. Looks like there's the micro switch on the front that you can poke your so no, that's for the eject button. That's the eject button. I thought that was the little one that you poke through. It's not. It looks like we have the wires are soldered permanently onto here, onto the board. That's a bit how you're doing for the looks like for the transport motor in there to transport the disc in. Curiously, there's a nice little lever switch over there. I really like that. Wow, I could have a fondle with that all day long. Look at that. Ooh. And as for the disc mechanism, well, there's our laser on there. There won't be one of those. That'd be the 405 nanometer blue laser. Exactly the same lasers used in Blu-ray. I'm not sure about output power differences, but they're the same 405 nanometer blue laser in them. And of course, the lower wavelength can get more data on the disc. And there's our little stepper worm drive there that drives the head back and forth, and there's the motor drive. That motor drive chip we saw on the front is driving the spindle down there, and that's about all she wrote, really. That's it. It's a laser that moves back and forth across the disc, and the disc rotates. Meh. Now you can see across here that we've got 3 laser diodes here, and the reason we've got 3 is because one is going to be the 405 nanometer blue laser diode, and those thick traces there I think are for that one, and the other 2 are going to be for the DVD, because it's going to be a combo drive. It's backward compatible, so one's going to be for the DVD and another one's going to be for the CD player option, because once again it's backward compatible with CD, right back to CDs. So there are your 3 laser diodes combining through this one optical mechanism in the center. Oh, look, near that we've got 3 little trimmer pots. There we go. They would be adjusted by the Oompa Loompas at the factory with their tongue at the right angle, just to get it just right. And the whole thing's mounted on rubber compliance in there. Look at that. I can wiggle that around. It's very rubbery, trust me. That's to take out any vibration from the unit and, you know, coupled through anything that it's sitting on. But the thing's built like a brick dunny anyway, so I don't know how much it needed that. But anyway, they've done that. You know, of course, no, this is designed for PCs, of course, general purpose. So yeah, it could be sitting in someone's PC and the fan vibration and all sorts of crap in there. So it's a really nice little mount. Oh, I could wiggle that all day. You can see that controlling the tray mechanism like that, and that's why if I close that, you know that jammed hole, if you have that in the front, if you stick your screwdriver all the way in there, bingo, it manually opens your tray and you can pull it out. Ooh, now we're getting somewhere. I like how this comes apart, by the way. You don't practically no screws on it. You just take the tray, eject the tray manually, and it just pops out. So fantastic. Ooh, look. Oh, that looks green. That looks green. We're being ripped off. It's supposed to be blue. Anyway, neato. Well, we love our adjustment trimmers. I wonder if they have any of those these days. But anyway, there's our lens on top, but people think that would be like just the laser diode sitting under the button. No, it doesn't work like that. They've got a extensive lens mechanism and beam splitters and all sorts of stuff, not only to collimate and focus the beam, but also to split it off to the laser power level sensor and the focus and tracking sensors and stuff like that. So it's a bit more complicated than that. Another couple of trimmers down in there. So you can see the die there directly on the flat flex. That's going into something under there, which we will remains to be seen what. And then on this side as well, I've also got another flat flex going into this block on the other side of the lens here. And what that one's doing again, I don't know. And you'll notice that spring-loaded head alignment screw there. That'd be adjusting the angle of that, I would suspect. Well, this is absolutely fascinating. If we take off this lens assembly on the top, I'll show you that in a minute. We saw this ASIC on flex before. I didn't know what that was going down into, but look, it looks to be going into a glass plate, which has got to be some sort of controlled filter shuttery type thing. It's like a, you know, some sort of like LCD filter shutter type system. So that is absolutely remarkable. Didn't expect to find something like that in here. Wow, and that's under the lens assembly. So if we take the lens assembly and flip it over here, there we go. You can see how that, ooh, lots of pretty colors down in there. So you can see how that is just some sort of lens assembly. I wouldn't pretend to know the optics that's going on in there, but yeah, fascinating. So if I take the metal bracket off the top of that, let's have a look down in there. What do we got? Let's see if I can lift that out. Wow, gotcha. Oh, look, fine wires running over to that. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so there was nothing in that plastic part down there at all. By the looks of it, it was just a holder for these connecting wires, which go over to the other side, and they're doing what? Electrically. It's fascinating. But actually, as you can see, that's the one that's closest to the disc, and it's not the laser diode, of course. It's just the optics, and that looks to be encased by two magnets. Okay, so what we've got here is the focus lens assembly that effectively floats inside that magnetic field between our two magnets there, and they will be getting feedback. I mean, that's what all this, all the interface here is for. They'd be getting feedback from that, generating an error signal and then compensating very minutely, almost probably wouldn't even see it, adjusting for the current focus position and everything else. So yeah, that's great. It just floats in there on the on the wires. God, it's brilliant. It's great. I love it. And that can move in more than one axis too. Not only can it go up and down like that to adjust the, to track the focus, there'd be a, error feedback signal, and then it'd compensate for the spot size on the disc getting larger or smaller, and then it could compensate for that. But it can also move in that axis back and forth to adjust the tracking side to side on the actual track that it's currently on. And back on what I call the top side here, we can see this little optical cube here with the split right through the middle at 45 degrees like that. That of course allows light to pass through, but also taps some off. So that would be, could be going into your laser power sensor or whatnot. Getting some tap off there, but it's designed to go straight through and then boop, shoot out there as well. And all of this certainly looks a lot more complicated than what you'd find in a modern Blu-ray drive. I'm sure if you tore down a modern Blu-ray drive, which is essentially exactly the same thing, remember it's doing exactly the same, and it's got exactly the same blue laser diode in there, 405 nanometers, it's doing the same focusing and tracking and everything else. But yeah, I mean, it's probably still doing something like this. Of course, whoa. Ah, my bloody magnet's stuck down. But it's just, yeah, a lot more refined, given that things do tend to advance in like 15 years. So, yeah, it wouldn't be this complicated in a modern one. But this is the first generation DVD, HD DVD drive. And where that light comes out to, that is tapping off into, I don't know if you can see it down in there, but that looks like our laser power monitor sensor. I might see if I can get that board out. Is that just glued in? Because there's no screws in there. But yeah, so that's tapping off. So our laser's going, so this is our laser diode here, no doubt. So it's shooting straight out there, but some of that's being tapped off into the laser power monitor so it can feed back and know and control the exact amount of light that it needs to output. Because, reading and writing power levels and other things are different. And sure enough, that's just stuck on there. I just flipped that out, and there you go. There's our, believe that's the laser power monitor sensor. Cute. Ooh, pretty. Okay, so we've got a laser diode shooting out there, taps that off into our laser power monitor down in there. It goes into here, and I haven't got it fully exposed, but we can have a look on the other side here. If we flip that out of the way, I've got a couple of angled lenses in there, angled assemblies that, like the light has to bounce out there, and then it's got to come in here, and then this angled assembly somehow gets that through into here. So it's not quite, is that it could be 45 degrees. Yep, I think it might be. And so it angles it into this assembly here, which then we have our angled, oh yeah, you probably can't see that. There we go. There's our 90-degree angled mirror or whatnot there, but it's transparent. I can see through that. So if they got another looks like they got another sensor on the other side of that. I might flip that one off in a second, but then it comes up at right angles, of course, through this controlled, I'm going to call it an LCD type assembly, but it's probably not the right, although it could be liquid crystal based, but whether or not that's a filter or some other shutter or something, I'm not entirely sure what that's doing. Anyway, it is electronically controlled lens, that's for sure, and then that goes up into the top focus assembly up there, which then goes onto the disc. And sure enough, on the other side of that lens there, it goes, some of the light goes through, and it goes, oh, hang on. I think I've pulled it away. Oops, there is or was a sensor still attached there. Oops. And my guess is that's likely to be the track-in focus diode sensing array on that side, just before it goes out. Oh yes, I pointed out those two lenses there earlier. So there's four, there's going to be a fifth one in here, so there's going to be 5 elements just there, plus the another element there to bend it 90 degrees and also get some through to that sensor over there. And like, there's a lot of optics involved in this thing. It's absolutely incredible. But we're not done yet. If that's our main blue laser diode, we've got another one over here by the looks of it, because we've got the same. I can't get into this down in here, but it looks to be tapped once again, tapping off here into another probably laser power sensor. It looks different to the other one. It is slightly different. So my guess would be that this is a dual wavelength drive, and this is your more traditional red laser that you get in your CD type drives. So all that, of course, is the most fascinating aspect of this thing, apart from the history of the war between the Blu-ray and HD DVD. But yeah, those drives are absolutely fascinating. As I said, they're bound to be a lot simpler. I haven't torn down a modern Blu-ray drive, but I don't think this would be that complex. I've torn down like old CD players before, for example, like the original one. I'll have to link it in at the end of this video, the original Sony Walkman, Sony Discman, back in the 80s or early 90s, was it? And yeah, that one is hideously complicated compared to, you know, even one like 5 years later or 10 years later, let alone a modern, just regular CD player drive, which is incredibly simple. So they do refine the optics and the mechanics and everything else of these things. So they're not nearly as complicated as this these days. That's why you can get it in much thinner form factors, not this, you know, 5 1/4 inch rubbish drive form factor that we've got these days. You can get them, you know, in ultra slim ones inside notebooks and stuff like that. They'd be much more refined than this, but this was the first one. I'm not sure if the Blu-ray ones shipped earlier than the HD DVDs, did they? Oh, not in. I'll have to double check that. But yeah, this is basically the world's first PC, because it's just a regular PC, HD DVD player. Awesome. So anyway, I hope you found that video interesting, and if you did, please give it a big thumbs up, because that always helps a lot on YouTube. And as always, discuss it down below, and there'll be a couple of retro videos here or related videos here at the end. Catch you next time.